if there's something in this rule that, in the changes in this rule that are concerns you, you want to hear about it.
So this isn't in stone yet?
No, it's draft. Definitely not in stone. So we're under an expedited timeline because they have to be in effect by January 1st. And our intent really was to implement just restrictions. So that's kind of the background.
So if the intent was just to implement the restrictions, why is the general authorization being changed so drastically to eliminate recreational mining and include all motorized mining?
Yeah, we changed it to motorized mining. I don't know, I don't really know what the difference is, frankly. I mean, the recreation, the part about recreation doesn't really have a statutory meaning in and of itself. What we really want to focus on is the activity.
The way I read the rule, if you take recreational or non-motorized recreational mining out of the GA, then it's still under Division 85 rules that they could only move up to 1 cubic yard of material at the site or 5 cubic yards within an ESH stream per year. So the recreational miners would be, non-motorized recreational miners would be limited by taking them out of the GA, but then also by stating that all motorized mining within the GA is covered within the GA, then somebody could technically take an excavator into an essential salmon habitat and scoop out 25 cubic yards of material. And the way I read the rules, the draft rules.
So, would you make a note of that?
Yeah, so,
And I don't know if it's tied necessarily to the recreational piece, but the non-motorized piece.
Well, and speaking of Division 85, so you're only revising the 89 rules, but
Yes.
it needs to, which is just the GAs, but you also need to include the individual permits in that 850 total, the
Yeah.
cumulative. So it seems like this year we're looking on.
We haven't had an individual permit for this activity.
Okay. In case you did.
It's on the first.
Well, you
We
do
may have to
600
reverse a
permits.
couple. What's that?
W600 permits, what happens to those?
That's DEQ,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So like, just to use this for example, I have a commit with DEQ that ends December 31st of next year. So I call them and get a refund. Is that what I need to do?
If you don't get a DSL permit? I don't know. That's a good question.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
You do that.
I don't know. That
Well,
one.
you guys are tied together, so that's why I'm asking. If I don't
That
get a direct
question-
permit, then,
Yeah.
I should.
That question was raised Monday night. So we'll be talking to DEQ about that. So Department of State Lands, DEQ, and the Governor's Office are taking lead roles in the stakeholder development. So we're in pretty close contact with DEQ
So I've got a question for
over
you.
these rules.
So this is a federal mining claim on federal land. And the state of Oregon is telling people you cannot go mine. How does that work?
So what we're telling people is even if you're on federal land, you still need a state permit.
So the state supersedes federal
No,
law?
activities on federal land still need state permits, but just an activity on federal land isn't exempt from state regulatory.
Okay. Well, because they have their own rules, and that's why I'm asking, because these are different than their rules. By law, their laws, you have to maintain and work a claim or you lose them. So what you're saying is only 850 people are going to be able to keep their claims, and the other 10,000 miners.
Well, there's,
See what I'm saying?
yeah, it's a.
You have to do your assessment work, or you lose your
Yeah, it's
claim.
gonna be a challenge, and I understand that it's difficult to do the assessment work without using motorized equipment. Right, is that true? I mean,
Sometimes it is.
To somewhat, yeah. I mean, if you have a claim to the gold's in the creek, yeah. but yeah, you can't go pan like Old Channel or something, because that's obviously against the rules. So that's why if you're in the creek, that's what gold is.
I mean, it's a legal question that'll probably be litigated. I'm not a lawyer.
No, I'm just
The
asking.
Attorney General's office.
Yeah, I'm
so
just asking. I thought maybe
really
somebody else may have asked you, so you might know or
Yes.
have an answer.
It's a big question.
I mean, the state of Oregon must just have millions of dollars. I mean, this is going to be a lot of. I'm thinking personally a lot of lawsuits. I mean, realistically.
Yeah, we've been hearing that. We just.
I know it's just a
I'm
big
not
word,
I'm
but
not
it's
an
just.
attorney.
Yeah, neither am I.
Yeah.
It's just, just.
Don't shoot the messenger.
No, it's okay, I appreciate
You
what.
guys are a lot better than the guys in Medford. Man, those guys are like, they couldn't answer nothing, man. They were just running.
So if you get a permit, the 850 permits are gonna do it for 2 years when they go to the moratorium. If you get a permit the first year, does that mean you're automatically in for the next year?
That's a very good question. Because it would,
Well,
I don't think it's not based on this part
each year, the
because,
criteria, you still have to apply and do all that.
because they're only annual permits.
Yeah.
Now, the moratorium only goes into effect if the study comes back to as it affects salmon, correct? The 140-some thousand we're supposed to get from the permits is supposed to go to studying how it affects dredging, right? So if that comes back harmful, then the moratorium kicks in, but if it comes back not harmful to fish, then
No, I don't think that's.
That's the way I understood it when I read it.
I don't think so. So the stakeholder group is going to study a whole bunch of different things
not pertaining to dredging?
pertaining to motorized mining.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's a list of things in the legislation that says what they're supposed to be looking at. And so I really think the objective of the stakeholder group is to come up with a permitting framework that is protective of the resource, allows some work to be done, maybe has some zones where it's allowed and zones where it isn't, I don't know. And provides for one permit system, so you wouldn't have the dual permitting. Nobody knows what the outcome of that work is gonna be, but I think the objective is to really look hard at it.
And it also says motorized mining for precious metals.
Yes.
Okay, so what if it was just a byproduct and I was in the river and we're sucking up lead weights? What would that?
Yeah, that's
Would I
another
need a
question
permit
that
for
we've
that?
heard. We don't have an answer for it.
Okay.
That's another.
We're looking for diamonds.
That was the goal.
Yeah, just
This is my diamond mineral extraction
You
machine.
know, I think it's the activity of the disturbance that we're really looking at.
Sorry.
The people you're gonna invite to the stakeholders, how do they get on that list, or how do those people determine?
So, the Department of State Lands is not doing any inviting, it's the governor's office.
Right,
Okay? So they are collecting names.
by how?
So they started by looking at who testified in the legislature. As just these are the folks who are interested in the subject. For the agency people, I think it's going to be fairly simple. They're going to be contacting the agencies. So I guess my recommendation is if there's anybody in this room that's interested in participating in that, keep your name. And I'll pass it on because the assistant director at the Department of State Lands is really heavily involved in developing this.
Is there a name you can give me, contact?
You can contact Bill Ryan, who is the assistant director for DSL.
What about
Brett,
the governor's office?
Brett
Somebody,
Brownscombe is with the governor's office.
Brett?
Brett, B-R-E-T-T, Brownscombe, Brown, S-C-O-M-B-E.
Thank you.
Who's Bob Lobel?
Bob Lupdell, he's the resource coordinator at Parkinson Lands.
Okay.
Okay,
To get clarification on a question Greg asked concerning the ability to grant variances, some of the variances we grant are within essential salmon habitat, but before, whatever species of salmon or steelhead that use that stream arrive to start spawning, would we still be able to grant those kind of variances under the draft rules?
so, how are you doing it now?
Well, for example, on the road, the in-water work period for the Road River and most of the tributaries, well, for the Road River, it's August 31st, we don't grant variance there because we have spring Chinook spawning, but in the tributaries, it's based on fall Chinook spawning, which is September 15, but in a lot of streams, coho or summer steelhead might be the first species to spawn. So, for example, a stream that has coho, which would be ESH, but coho don't arrive there to start spawning until November, so we'll give a variance till the end of October.
So how are you doing that now, though? Are you working through DSL to get that in-water work extension?
Basically, what we're doing is it's written into the 700 PM permit that they have to abide by the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife in-water work period, and they reference that document by name, but they say that you can, if you obtain approval in writing from the Department of Fish and Wildlife, then you can look outside of that period. If it's within ESH, we're telling people that they need to have the appropriate approval from DSL as well.
So would it be easier if we had that same language in our GA? If you have written approval from ODFW
Yeah, I think it would be
for this?
clearer that way, if that's the intent to still allow the attendants that they can only work during the one work period, then so be it. But otherwise, yeah, I would reference our in-water work timing document by name, and then say that they can obtain a variance to that by, being in writing from ODFW and whether you want to do it where, like DS or DEQ does, where they just get the approval directly from us, or whether you want it to go, from us to DSL and out and over that way. But I think it would be easier to specify specifically.
Right. So that's, yeah, we've never done
You get
that.
calls.
But, it seems easier for everyone. And, I don't think the current general authorization, the online permit that we issued for this activity, I don't think there's room for variance.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We do it for everything else.
How familiar are you with this 838 bill?
Pretty familiar. It's not tattooed on the back of my eyelids.
I question that. Who started it?
Oh, how familiar am I with the creating of the legislation? Not very. In fact,
It's funny because we did that FOIA on it and they wouldn't release it. So,
I can answer that if you want to.
yeah.
Alan Bates did it, and we point blank asked him, and he lied viciously. Alan Bates, and you know it.
so it's in the legislative.
You remember my mug from the last time, so I came to welcome you back to Grants Pass,
Thank you.
and hopefully send you back up north.
Thank you.
You're not wrong.
There's a complete legislative history on this.
Is it? Okay.
And I can give you the website.
Okay.
And I can give you further history on that. All the bills that you placed in was overwhelmingly shot down by us, overwhelmingly did it, and you changed
You're
the word.
interrupting me, I'm going to have to ask you not to.
I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
I'm just asking you not to interrupt me.
Don't interrupt me.
So, here's the website. You ready? Oh, it's, right? OLIS, Oregon Legislative Populated Information System.
.org.
It's at, yeah, it's .org. You just Google OLIS and you'll pop up, guaranteed.
Otis or Olis?
OLIS.
Okay.
OLIS.
Let's see if I can find it.
And you're gonna have to, because the session is over, you're gonna have to go to past legislative sessions, but it's intuitive. I think you can do it. You can see the whole legislative history. You can read all the testimony. You can see how it started, who introduced it, what happened at committee, and how it went through the process. It's a great tool. Everything you want to know about is there. What?
I can give you the web address.
There you go, ready? She's got it. It's
Is it right? And right.
It's OLIS, OLIS, .leg, .state, .or.us. And that's the Oregon State Legislature.
Okay, so, more questions?
So I have another question, Frank. When my son, he's only like 15, he's 16 now, but when I did the permits, I made sure I got it for both of us, but when I asked for the dredge permit, if he needed one,
700?
yeah, it's old news now, but, maybe coming up, it will affect everything, but, so if I get a permit and he doesn't, does that mean he can't dredge? Or my buddy can't come up and dredge? You see what I mean?
You
If
have to
I'm on
be,
my
the
claim.
permit holder has to be present.
Okay, well, okay, perfect, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yep.
Okay.
I heard a rumor too, they're gonna make us put like numbers on the side of our direction, like you do on boat.
On DEQ's permit? Yeah, I've heard that too, like a license plate or
Yeah.
something for monitoring. Monitoring is a challenge. And we'd rather, I think we'd rather have really solid monitoring information than questions about it. That just makes sense. Protects everybody.
One other question that we had is, of course, in the legislation, it says that dredges cannot be left unattended. What constitutes unattended, and is equipment can be required to be removed every night?
So what it says is, the dredge cannot be left unattended in the wetted perimeter.
So just, sit in the creek.
I think most of this is pointed at the Gold Hill group, probably,
Yeah.
because of moving, and then they have cables out there or something anchoring, and the Raptors don't like that, so. I think
It's navigation issue, I think navigation.
If you're talking about some small creek somewhere, I can't really picture somebody enforcing that part.
Yeah, so, what that means to us, in a plain read of it, it means you gotta pull it over to the bank.
Well, actually,
Or
the
take it out.
law says out of the water.
Out of the wetted perimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
so
would
if
actually
you've got,
take
if the water's low and there's,
gravel water.
ground bar exposed or someplace that's not, wetted perimeter means in the water, right? Not below or near the water, in the water. So if there's a place that's not in the water, that you can pull it off to,
Don't you kind of figure that's what they're pointing at, the Gold Hill group versus?
Well,
I think it's navigation is the
Yeah, I
issue.
think that's where the issue arose, but the legislation doesn't separate it out, so technically, even if you're, out in the middle of nowhere, you're restricted to those operating hours and you're required to take the equipment out.
So we have heard a lot of feedback on that. We're gonna be consulting with Department of Justice to see if there's some way we can further define that to allow a little more, not necessarily flexibility, but, if it's not if there's nobody,
Else they're using it besides you.
yeah, so we've heard that there's a lot of problems with that. So,
I assume, that's why I say, I assume that was pointing at that group, that's why we're written in.
yeah, I don't
I know
know.
there's a lot of rafters that don't appreciate guys dredging
but we have, so we will be asking DOJ if there's, if it has to be totally out of the water, if it can be on the bank. We've also heard that if folks are putting it on the bank and riparian vegetation may be at risk. I mean, it really needs to be clarified. And what the intent is, needs to be really clearly understood.
Get that?
She's remembering all of it.
That'll hear.
She's already heard it 400 times.
Yeah, so we have gotten, a lot of feedback,
What's some good stuff we missed asking?
What's that?
What's some good questions we missed asking?
Well, originally, when we first reviewed the legislation, we thought that it actually expanded our ESH designations, and that permits would be required for any amount of removal fill in those orange areas. We have since had asked DOJ to review it again, because we received comments that were compelling for us to look at that, and it doesn't appear to be the case. The statute's self-executing, which means that it's kind of like it's the kind of law of the land in this area. So regardless of what permit you need, so if you don't need a permit from DSL because you're less than 25 cubic yards of removal and discharge, and you're not in ESH, or you're right, and you're not in ESH, you still don't need a permit from us. So it doesn't affect
Again,
permit
this
requirements.
is overwhelmingly illegal what you're doing. We have the right. You do not have the authority to literally suggest to people that they are going to let out like 800, whenever everybody has a right to come do this under the 1866, the 1872 law. You are overwhelmingly breaking the law. And therefore, you do not have the authority to tell us that you need a permit when we require 0 permits. And then it's amazing how you pick out of thin air over whatever, 800 and some lucky jars that's going to get this. And then all the other fictitious stuff you have overwhelmingly shoved down our necks and against the Constitution, but our rights. And why have you guys overlooked the 1866 and the 1872 laws? And please don't tell me it's an old law, because, gee, it's 110 years newer than our constitutional rights.
So as I was saying, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to address.
I know you're not
They're
gonna
not really
address.
questions, they're just comments, right? You're really not asking
No,
questions.
I got a whole lot. You're totally illegal.
Okay, so if you have a question, I'll answer it, but I didn't really think that that was a question. But I do want to
You can
finish
say
talking
either way.
about this permit requirement. So if you didn't need a permit from Department of State Lands before, you still don't need a permit.
You don't need a permit.
So but it is self-executing. That means if you're operating in these orange areas, you still have to abide by those restrictions, whether you have a permit or not.
How can you give us restrictions whenever the law have been overwhelmingly overlooked?
So that's what Department of Justice is telling us. So,
And to clarify on that, even if you have a tributary to an EH stream, ESH stream, but the tributary itself doesn't have ESH, because it's a tributary to an ESH stream, it would still
tributary to a tributary,
be covered.
yeah, that's how we're interpreting it.
But if there's no fish there, I mean, that's what this whole thing's about, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the genesis of the tributary to tributary concept. But that would be a good question to ask. And we got that right. Yeah, that's something that's been brought up as well. We need some really salient point. So I want to tell you about this process that we're doing for the rulemaking, just so you're clear. This public comment period is open till the end of the month. You can submit oral testimony tonight, which is what we're gonna do. I think we have just one person sign up. Okay. Anybody who wants to provide oral testimony can sign up for us, please, and you can provide that testimony. That's our purpose for the hearing. And I'm glad that we had an opportunity to just ask questions and that sort of thing, because there's not so many people here who have that opportunity. So, we'll take comment until October 31st, and then the department will be looking at all the comment. In the meantime, we do have some issues that have already been identified, and we're working on those now, because those are it's an expedited process. We have to have this permit by January 1.
And the comments that we have repeatedly put before all of the incredible bills that was put forth before the 38 came along, you guys overwhelmingly overlooked, overwhelmingly sidebarred, and we, the miners, would overwhelmingly
You know,
not
sir,
look at
I'll give you
it.
an opportunity to provide oral testimony if that's what you'd like to do.
I'm asking you to leave.
So, October 31st,
I was wondering if DSL does have a list of issues that have been raised and that they are addressing or looking to address. in
Right
terms of
now?
local- You mentioned.
we're
you
keeping
have-
it, so here's what we're keeping a running list, because we know we're not gonna have a lot of time. So we're working on it and looking at everything that we're hearing. You know, we do have a list that we're working on. It's not complete. But at any time, anybody can request information from our office. And it's all, anything that we create is public record. So, when the public comment period closes, we will publish a list of concerns or issues that were raised. We'll do that in pretty short order. Then we will create a response to everything we hear. And that'll be posted on our website.
But your advanced list that you are working off of right now.
It's not,
Somebody could just call you and.
yeah, it's public record.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just call Anita or I, it's, it's in our Word directory. It's not very intelligible. But,
I also write notes. So.
yeah, it's just notes. Yeah.
Where do you folks get your knowledge of mining? Whenever I've already asked you at the other meeting, and you guys have zero skills in mining, but still you write these atrocious rules. Where do you get your skills from?
So, are you asking me what my credentials are?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question.
I have a master's degree in natural resources from the University of Wisconsin.
So you
I've
actually
been
get
doing
out bigger
permitting
jobs?
since, for a
You
long
took a
time.
test?
I've been a manager of the program for,
Because your math on the
15
wall
years.
indicates that it's insulting. The letter, the green shows that that's where, oh, there's no streams in that area, but we're allowed to dredge there. Isn't that amazing?
so, would you like to provide your testimony?
I have a lot of negative things at what both of you are doing, because it's quite clear that you're breaking the law. You have not studied the 1866, the 1872 laws. You've overwhelmingly, chosen side, you've overwhelmingly rejected us miners whenever we put forth comment, writing, and took busloads and went to the up on the steps and sailed. Overwhelmingly. And still just a few of you managed to overwhelm me. When we asked point blank, who wrote these? Nobody knew. Even you that pretended you didn't know. You're standing there just like you did the last time. Pretended you didn't know. Alan Bates. He's right there.
Okay.
And then you write up
Do
this
we have any more
legal-
questions? Does everybody feel like they have the information they
It's
need?
a criminal act. What you folks are doing.
Any more questions?
What's the time limit for the personal testimony?
So, we are here in a public hearing until 8 o'clock.
So unlimited then, or until 8 o'clock?
Well, it depends on how many people want to provide testimony. We'll divide it up, how many minutes we have with how many people want to testify. So, and we'll just run the tape recorder and.
Got
So
some
when we do,
poker cards?
what, excuse me?
Get some poker cards?
So when we,
I do have a question. So
Okay.
this paper here is the address if we wanted to submit written comments?
yeah,
So this would be the date, the address, and where we would send it?
yes,
Very good, okay, thank you.
yeah. So you can submit written comments.
Understood, thank you.
And the advantage of written comments is that you can, take some time and crack them.
So the oral testimony will be recorded and then transcribed for the record?
They won't be transcribed, but they'll be posted on our internet, on our website.
If they won't be transcribed, will it be an audio file? Audio file. And
That's what I understand.
who actually listens to that feedback and what do they do with the feedback?
We do, we take notes on the feedback, we listen to it, we take notes, we extract the issues that are raised.
Are there examples where you've actually heard the feedback and made a change in the policy based on the feedback?
Absolutely.
Do you have any specifics you can share in the past that you've done? Something like that?
Numerous, too many to mention. This is the rulemaking.
So there's a lot of flexibility.
Well, the flexibility, there's not a lot of flexibility in the restrictions, that's statute. That's statute. We have to implement the statute. But in how we determine 850, there may be some flexibility in not leaving a dredge unattended in the winter perimeter. We're looking at that. So, we honestly want feedback.
So one question is like, hours from 9 to 5 operating. How was that thought of or came up with?
So,
Business hours?
I'm sorry that I can't give you the
Okay, let's figure out
history
that.
and where it came from. I don't know, Dave, were you at all involved in the session?
I was involved in the session directly, but basically, there were input from landowners that, felt that the dredging was disruptive to their property. And so, there were proposals like that, and for removing of the dredge that would have come from those things, and, that was put into the Oregon revised statutes by the legislature as a result of the hearings that they held.
So after the public comment period closes, after we look at all the issues that have been raised, we work with DOJ, Department of Justice, on certain issues that we have questions about what authority we have. Then we will produce the response to comments. It'll be posted on the website. I believe folks that are mailing this may be notified that we posted them, and they can look at it. And then by January 1st, we need to have a set of rules in effect.
So do we do this like online to see if we get a permit or not, like we do in normal?
So what we're proposing in this rule, and it's really the timeline's gonna look a lot like what we're proposing, because there really isn't any practical way to do it. Allow people 2 months to apply. And then look at the pool of applicants to determine the need for it. So that folks, aren't all thinking that they have to apply on January 1st. Pressure system.
That's what I always do. It tells me to wait till the next day.
Is there going to be a form that you can mail in?
Yes,
It
and
overwhelms
it'll
me.
be a postmark, we'll need a postmark by the end of February 28th.
Is it still
So,
850
there'll be-
permits?
Postmark, if the postmark is within that time period, then we can consider it
The economic devastation that's
If
created.
there's less than 850 permits issued for that group, and there's some left over to allocate, which we don't anticipate,
Have you guys taken into consideration the loss
then it will
of
be
income?
lottery. It'll be random.
The loss of sales of mining equipment, the loss
And
of
where we
revenue
have,
that's generated from tourism. This is
So,
devastating.
you know how the online permit is self-executing? You know, you fill it out, you get a permit, you print it out. You're gonna have to get one from us.
Whenever everybody has the right. And the devastating loss of
Any other
revenue.
questions about the process?
I'm making a comment that you have created a loss
And
of revenue that is
interrupting me.
unacceptable. Do you know how much money that you have
Any other
really stopped by
questions?
this? This is foolishness at the power of 10. Sir, can I just step outside?
Yes, sir, I just want to talk to you briefly.
Yes, please.
Can you make that clipboard readily available to anyone by circulating it before you begin to take oral testimony? Some people may not be willing to walk up to the clipboard. Can we circulate that among the people so they can sign up if they want to?
Oh, sure.
Great.
So,
Just pass it around.
Pass it on.
Those are what, we just write down here that,
If you want to say something on the record,
You're up, buddy.
it's fairly.
There's the lady that needs to talk. That one.
I do have a question as far as the reporting end of the state lands permit.
Uh-huh.
Then is that going to be something they're also going to be obligated? And what about last year's people that were required to finish up their reporting on their state lands permit? How's that all going to affect, roll out, any changes there?
No changes on the reporting requirement. You have to report by December 31st
Okay.
to be eligible for one
For
of
next
the
year's.
for one of the 850s.
Understood.
So if they're doing 850, that means we have basically 60 days to apply, and then what is the window turnaround with those 850?
As fast as we can. So I think this rule says, does this rule say?
It says from January to February 28th that you guys will be taking all of these.
Yeah, let me
people.
see if we put something in here.
But I couldn't find where it said what the time was.
April will be notifying
In April.
April 30th.
Okay.
Sooner if we can get the work done, but it's going to be laborious.
Yeah.
come on now, you pretty much took everything away. What else is there to do besides stick?
What's it gonna cost?
The DSL permit doesn't cost anything.
Okay, they're gonna put it all on. So it's the-
You're smiling.
My name is on here as a contact.
Remember, Ken.
Well,
You want to take a
I was
picture?
smiling because in a staff meeting, Lori asked.
I didn't even introduce myself. I introduced myself to everybody as they came
I
in.
remember your name. Lori and double name.
Lori Warner Dickinson, that's who I am.
And then Tina?
Anita.
Anita.
Tina Teeters?
Okay, Tiana, she's our rules coordinator.
One more of you. Can I
But yeah, I'm Anita Huffman, I'm on there, and I'm the one that you can contact
I
for.
tried to call you yesterday.
Great, thank you.
So we have, a rules coordinator who coordinates all the formal filings,
Gotcha.
because it's a formal.
So you don't
Yeah,
have to
makes our paperwork legitimate on your.
She looked at the schedule, well, she looked at the schedule.
Okay. Any other questions? Have we exhausted all the questions?
So if you're not doing motorized dredging, can we do gravity dredging?
That's
There's
an
2 years?
interesting question.
Because it says motorized only, so there's nowhere that states that I can't go out there and make a gravity dredge and stuff up. That says that.
Well, if you're,
Under the 25 years.
if you are moving material by non-motorized means, you're limited to 1 cubic yard
Per what geographical area?
in ESH streams.
But if it's a non-ESH stream, I can move up to 25
Yeah, without a permit,
without a permit.
assuming you're discharging it back.
Yes. And in an ESH stream, so I can move 1 cubic yard, then I have to move to a different location. location in the stream or a totally different stream?
I think it's
500 feet, 1,000 feet?
one
It's,
at
yeah,
one site,
1 cubic yard at a site or a total of 5 cubic yards.
five
per
anywhere in
stream.
the state,
5 cubic yards per stream.
anywhere in the state. Cumulatively, I think it's.
And
That would have to be
I don't know, I have to look at it.
So,
I don't know.
what do you guys qualify as a site?
I think it's identified as it.
Like, this is my 5 foot by 5 foot area, there's my 1 cubic yard, I moved up 10 feet, I got one. That's a new site, correct? I mean, it's 3 boulders up, 2 to the left.
Now you go 6, and 2 to the right, 1 to the left.
I think
Yeah, that's a
that's,
slippery slope.
yeah, I think that was a problem that it wasn't identified before, and basically what the net said is that they don't try to regulate per site, just per stream.
And
It's a
it's
slippery
5,
slope
so you can try to 5 cubic yards per stream in the whole state.
per ordinance.
Per order.
That's my interpretation.
Well, that's not stated in law, or,
Well, I think,
because everybody's interpretation is a little different.
yeah, but I
It
guess
is
my
stated in
opinion
Division
is-
85, if we have a copy of that.
Yeah, I've got it here. You wanna look it up, please?
Thank you.
So I have a question for you. He mentioned this, say, siphon residence. So like,
So you would have to ask the regulator a tricky question like that. I mean, usually, people do a project and they're not doing this, usually it's one project.
so if you're doing what he was saying, siphon bridge. Did you have a motor and
It's
a
not
pump
one
breathing
that's-
underwater?
Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with
It has nothing to do with the
Mining.
mining equipment.
it's breathing, so you can
It's
breathe.
on your back, it's a tank, so you can breathe.
Breathing scuba tank, yeah.
And we haven't considered that part of the mining.
Is that something you've heard in the past?
Yeah, and we haven't considered that part of the mining activity. Because it's really an apparatus to help you breathe.
And so if that doesn't come out and stated in the new revision, technically we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I
And
think
if-
so.
If you do what he's saying, you don't need a DSL permit, right?
Did you find it in this?
Not yet.
Oh, I could probably find it. DSH. So another thing that we're gonna have on our website through the application process, we're gonna have a flex map. So, and we're gonna ask you, where are you planning on operating? It's a TRS, and a township range section, and a stream. And you're gonna have a map, and you're gonna go from 0 to 1, and then you're gonna tell us where you're going.
So what about those miners that do have multiple mining claims? I can think of multiples offhand right now that I know have one out in the Illinois Valley, one up in the Briggs Valley, come out in Wolf Creek. And so they are that miner that can get any one spot at any given weekend. How do we
So
handle that?
at
for
any
them?
number of spots, you mean?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's say 3 to 4 spots for one miner. who
Yeah,
knows
so
multiple
we're not
miners.
necessarily gonna limit it to one spot.
But he has to list one of them,
We list, but you'll have authorization to work in that spot.
but only that spot, not
So
the
you're gonna
other
have to tell
4.
us, well, we haven't said that you can't put 4 spots on the application.
Okay, but if you did put, but is the permit then going to identify the location that they have been permitted for?
Probably.
So it's not a statewide permit then, it's a site-specific permit?
We haven't made that decision,
Okay,
but that potential,
okay, I'm just pushing through questions that they
Yes.
ask me regularly.
yeah. Yeah,
You guys
Potential.
come out to,
but the idea of having a flex map online is what I really wanted to express, was that you will be able to know whether you're in ESH or not,
Right,
clearly, and be able to zero in. Yeah.
for when they're doing testing, come out to where they're supposed to be working.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Are they gonna bring us coffee and all that information?
They might.
Hey, you know, so you're bringing some bracelets.
Do we know how soon before that flex map might be up?
No. We're working on it.
January 1.
Well, by the time folks apply, yeah. So I mean, it'll be part of the application process. This division is that we ask where you plan on working, and then this link will take you to the flex map, and hopefully it'll be all integrated.
Like when it asks, are you inside of essential salmon habitat, you can click the link. I know that site by heart, so yeah.
Yeah, except even we're gonna put a flex map on that area.
On that page
On
too.
that page too, so that you could just,
See where you're looking at.
yeah, because those maps are really hard to.
Good deal.
Now, you said that they're gonna be, well, basically site specific. How specific are you gonna make us get down to? Just the section number, or?
We don't know,
that?
we don't know yet, but what we're thinking at this point is TRS, underground section, and water line.
So a question about the township range section that we
Possible.
provide you, is that public
Permits
information?
versus anything, I'm looking at 150, but I can get that down.
Right. Why is he getting issued?
That would be our database, our database is public information. That, anything we do is, all of our permits are public information.
Okay, I have a question for you. The guy that has 4 or 5 different claims that are out there, and he potentially goes and puts his name on the list to get a permit, and they are site specific. If he lists them all, he basically is looking for 5 permits, and you're only giving out 850. How is he going
He
to?
wouldn't be given 5 permits for that.
Right, so if
It would
they're
be
site
one permit.
specific,
No, it would be one permit,
and he can use it on
that
the
could
5.
list multiple sites.
Okay, well, that's what we want to make sure of, is that that
Oh,
guy's
yeah,
not going
no.
to get kicked off one of his better sites because it becomes
No.
site specific.
No,
Okay.
yeah, that'd be awful.
On that question, what is the limit then for, I mean, if a miner has multiple claims, is there 10, 15, is there a number
I don't
that?
know, we haven't really, I mean, we're just exploring this at this point. We haven't really developed it yet.
So that's going to
And I
be,
hate that it's not, we haven't been able to get more feedback on this.
so there's flexibility there, is what you're saying? If somebody does bump up against a, I don't,
So it's more of an application issue than it is a rules issue, really. So that's why we didn't put it, I mean, you know, just.
Well, our problem is if you look at the map and you're trying to keep everybody from being 850 people in the same place, and the guy has 5 places to go, he would be logically smarter to put down a place that less people go to, because you might look at him and give him a permit there versus one that's stuck on somewhere that 500 people are there. But if it's site specific, that means the other 4 of his places are not accessible to him.
Well, it would be an incredibly impracticable for us to look at all of these locations and measure whether they're 500 feet apart.
Yeah, when you were looking at township range and section, those are gonna come up multiple times for multiple people.
And that's within a 1 mile square, so I could have every person in this room potentially have an application for a 1 mile square out on the Rogue River, because they all planned on going there. But realistically, you're saying 500 feet apart, we only have so much of the road, so are you going to look at that and say, well, we can only have 3 of the people in this room?
I don't know, that's a really good question.
That's what we're looking for, because basically they come to us, we're on the bill of mining, and they're gonna ask us what to say or what to put, and if we don't know to help you guys.
Let's get a
What you
GPS
said.
and do.
Yeah,
500
if you grid 5 and 850 people and so many in each grid, great, that would be great, so we could do it, but we don't know. So that's why we're asking.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
But under the draft rules, the only criteria for issuing a permit is the amount of time that they've had
A permit.
DSL permit or a mining claim. So I think the 500 feet, that's just up to the people out on the ground to make sure you maintain that distance. And I mean, one person could be dredging at a site today, since dredges can't be left unattended. If he's not there the next day, another person could be dredging the same site.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
ugly.
there you go.
Wow.
I found that
that's claim
section
jumping.
that we were.
Isn't that claim jumping?
Yes.
Oh, you
it
did?
is.
Yeah.
That's under.
So prospecting and
That's-
non-motorized activities within designated essential indigenous and anonymous salmon habitat. A permit is not required for prospecting or other non-motorized activities resulting in removal or fill of less than 1 cubic yard material at any one individual site and cumulatively not more than 5 cubic yards of material within a particular stream in a single year.
Within a particular stream, okay. There we go.
What's that citation, dude?
Let me go get it to you backwards. It's section 6 of 141-85-0530.
Okay, well, you stand corrected.
So what that was saying is we don't need any kind of permit at all if we're going to go out and prospect.
And
And
move
do
less
With a
than,
motorized.
Do it non-motorized. That's it.
and move less than 5 cubic feet on the street. 5 cubic yards, sorry, yeah.
What happens if there's like 700 people in this stream? Do they just all move around? Does that make sense?
Non-motorized.
Give me my 500 feet, man.
Got the biggest cover.
Okay.
Zane Gray said you never pick a fight.
Now we're being exhausted.
Yeah.
So any questions on process? I think I've told you just about everything I know at this point. I think.
Come on now, there's got to be a couple more things you're holding out on us.
No, I'm really not trying to
I
hold.
gotta give you a good kudos.
Oh, thanks.
You're a lot easier to get along with, and you answer more questions than DEQ ever thought of.
Oh.
Oh.
I don't think the answer to one question today, Ryan.
I'll keep that kudo under my hat.
See,
No, spread it, please.
at least you had some answers, or at least you said, I don't know, but we can find out, or what, you know.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Will there be an FAQ page based on questions being recorded that you can get back to people or with the answers?
We, we've, I don't know.
I mean, you're taking down the questions. How are you going to get the answers back to folks?
I mean, it's a great idea. And we've talked about it, we're keeping a list of issues that were raised, and most of those are in the form of questions.
So there won't be an FAQ page?
Yeah, there will be some, I don't know if
Are
we
you,
can call it
are you recording this meeting?
Sure.
Maybe we could have them read the questions to us, then when they repost it on their website, we can match them up. Just a suggestion, that way we know.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, so do we have our oral testimony list? Okay, so, this is a formal public hearing, and here's what this means, is that, we're here to take oral testimony, and it's not an opportunity to ask questions. I can't really answer questions during the testimony, it's pretty formal. I'd be happy to stay after and ask any additional questions when we start the hearing, then we'll ask folks who have signed up to come in and talk. What time is it? It's 10 to 6. 10 to 6.
Break time?
Take a lot of breaks.
Oh, we don't work past that 5 o'clock window now.
So how many names are on the list right now?
3. There's only 3. So, I would say,
You got a half an hour per person.
how much time do you need?
How much you got?
I have till 8 o'clock. Excuse me for a minute, I'm just,
Texting.
no.
She's ordering pizza.
Yeah. I am,
Setting your clock.
setting my clock.
So our testimony, is it going to be posted somewhere? Is it going to be?
Yes,
What becomes of it?
it is actually, the audio recording is posted on our website. So,
Don't cuss.
excuse me?
Don't cuss.
If you don't want your mother to hear it, don't say it.
I was just kidding.
Okay, so, I mean, we've got 3 people who want to provide, how much time do you need?
10 minutes.
We don't have enough.
10 minutes, I mean, do I
You're gonna be
even,
going home by
do
6:30.
I even need to clock it?
Yes. That's key.
So, Gene, how much time do you need?
I don't know, a few minutes.
Noah?
I'm gonna write down some notes real quick. and-
Well, we've got about an hour and a half at least, right? So why not just say up to 30 minutes and let them go?
Alrighty then. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start. So when it's your turn to provide testimony, we'll ask you to come up here and talk into this recorder. If you would, come sit here. Okay, I have a script that I'd like to read, just for the record. This hearing is now in session, is being tape recorded to maintain a permanent record. My name is Lori Warner Dickinson, and I am the hearing officer. Today is October 23rd, 2013, and the time is 6:12 p.m. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment on the rules proposed for adoption by the department. This is the Wetland and Waterway Conservation Division 89 rule. The agency invites comments about whether other options should be considered for achieving the rule's goals while reducing the negative economic impact on business. In addition to presenting oral comments at this hearing, anyone may submit written comments until 5 p.m. on Thursday, October 31st, which is the close of the public comment period. Send comments to the address provided on the handout that we put on the table. Comments received after 5 p.m. on Thursday, October 31st will not be reviewed or considered by the agency unless the agency decides to extend the comment period to everyone. The department will not respond to questions during this hearing. After the close of the public comment period, we will prepare reports to the agency, which will be available on our website. Okay? So, Jean, would you like to come up?
Sit here.
Sit here, and for the record, please tell us your name.
Gene W. Brandon. I'm just here to speak my mind. Just nothing big. I'm a gold miner from Southern Oregon, and this is kind of where I started. Oregon is passing all these marijuana laws, which is federally illegal, and now the state of Oregon has taken away the gold mining rights that is legal, and it's just amazing how the times are changing. And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, Noah? Who's Noah? It's Noah, isn't it? Noah Jordan?
Greetings, everybody. My name is Nick. As you can see, I'm a little disturbed over what is happening to our state, and especially of a very mineralized section of the lower 48. As we all know, that this is one of the most mineralized parts of the lower 48 in America. And it is intentionally contrived. I am really dismayed at the incredible laws that are coming out on 838. Alan Bates overwhelmingly didn't want to admit that he was the author. When we were on the steps in Salem, he literally ran out the back door. He didn't want to come out and talk to us. Okay, 850 permits, as I strongly believe might be the numbers given out. This is an economic crush to the businesses that sell mining equipment. This is an economic crush as well as to BLM, because you're not going to be able to go out and literally mine your claim because of these rules. If you only got a permit, why would you go get a permit? Why would you go do it? I mean, that right there, even there's a negative issue. Okay, tourism. This is going to shut down a lot of tourism that's in their area. Josephine County, I believe, is approximately third to the poorest state county in the state. And we're setting on an incredible wealth, be it mining, above the ground and below the ground. And overwhelmingly, these laws are put in place to sequester you and I from what is legally yours. Under the 1866 and the 1872 laws, we have a granted right. And somehow these laws have been overwhelmingly denied us. These laws have been told to us miners, oh, they're old laws, we need to change them. Excuse me, our constitutional rights are 110 years older than these. So I don't think you and anybody in this room would enjoy this. As we see again, these folks here that writes this do not have the experience of understanding what it is to put a rope in the water, how far apart a dredge should be, what is it, 500 feet or something ridiculous. Get real. That is so unbelievable. And to take it in and out is too much strain for a person to do the physical strength of removing a dredge. Also, if you notice the green map that they showed us in the incredible insult in green in the hills, that is desert part, somewhere around the Ochoco area. There are no streams in the desert. Now then, the situation is overwhelming that they have overpowered our streams with false. They do not have the authority. They took the authority. And we are like giving it to them. I don't get it. Because you have the right to go out in any numbers, to go out and seek on the grounds. And if it's private land, you talk to the owner. You don't worry about, you don't go on trespass. That's a big no-no. But if it's private property, respect that. Overwhelmingly it has. The dredging has been called many things. The suction device makes there's a nice word for it, makes a depth of 3 to 5 feet, whatever. If you are a fisherman, you will observe that creates a fishing spawning place, and if you fish, that's the place you want to go because you pull up periwinkles. All studies have been proven, it's been zero, and as people said, oh, dredging kills fish. This is a falsehood again. Dredgers do not kill fish. Fishermen kill it. I kill a fish when I go out and catch it. I'm going to flay that rascal. But sorry, not with my dredge. This is falsehood. It is film showing where dredges, even fish, will go up and literally outpower the nozzle and come out. But what's taking place again, it creates fish habitat. Also, the incredible lead that is removed from the streams. Oh, by the way, I don't give up lead. I keep my lead that I find with my dredge. And another thing, falsification again. Oh, you have mercury in the water, you nasty old miners. Excuse me, it's a natural product that's in the state. World War II, there was approximately 300,000 flasks of mercury that was mined from this territory to assist World War II. Mysteriously, it got shut down at the end of World War II. Miners don't throw mercury in the water. We retrieve and keep. And this is another falsehood that's been generated against miners. Okay, if you look at it again, our wealth comes from the ground. If you notice, these ladies are wearing jewelry. Where did that gold come from? Obviously, it came from the ground somewhere. Some miner took it. Now then, with these rules coming down around our necks, you are being put in bondage. Do not allow this to happen. These rules should never exist. Dogami, at this one point, was right here in Grants Pass. The largest school on mining was right here in Grants Pass. And now it is totally ignorant of the people's minds knowing that that even exists. I have a book that is covers from 1850s to the 1950s of the mines, the longitudes and latitudes that's in this territory. It is astounding what is here. And no, we did not get all of the minerals. Yes, we have tellurium in this territory. We have stuff that you go and buy from China, and it's right here in Josephine County. I have people that I know that can go and show you where it's at. Some of it can even show you where it's at. The falsification that all of this is put down upon our heads tonight is a sham. It needs to be literally cast aside. There are many things that I'm negligent on my tongue that I need to say, but it's not bringing to bear. But I think there's everybody in this room understand. I am vehemently against 838 because this is a taking. This has nothing to do with Mr. Nicety of being politically correct in the backbush. This has nothing to do with it. It is completely a taking because once you seize our opportunity to do the mining, you have killed a system of generating funds that the good Lord gave us. And how dare they take it from us? I have much more to say, but I am trying to keep myself in balance here. And yes, I've invited these ladies to literally go back up north because I do not agree with what they're doing. And yes, I believe these two ladies are the head writers of this. They're not the mere messengers. And bring that to point. You ladies are not the messengers. You are the writers of this stuff. And so I close. Again, my name is Vic Jordan, 5764 New Hope Road, Brad's Pass. I'm a very concerned citizen, and Alan Bates needs to resign.
Dawn, start?
Nick said everything that I would say.
Okay, so you don't want to talk? Okay, is there anybody else that wants to provide oral testimony? Okay, well, thank you very much. This hearing is closed.
She was a relative, you know, which I had.